What's going on, guys? Chandler here. So this is going to be my new segment on my YouTube channel called First Listen Review that is taken from my $5 tier full album reactions. So I react to the entire album, and then at the very end I give my overall thoughts and initial thoughts and a score on the album as a whole. So again, if you do like what you see and want to support the channel going forward, head over to patreon.com/ChandlerBurtonEntertainment. This is exclusive to the $5 tier. Again, you get a full album reaction, review, and a whole bunch of other perks as well if you guys are interested. And again, there's always a link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the review, and thank you all so much for watching. All right, so my Counterparts cherry has been popped, and I thought the album was pretty good. It not, maybe not my favorite thing of the year, but I enjoyed it for the majority of it. So I'm going to give my first listen review, where again, I just give my overall thoughts on the album, some pros, cons, top 3 songs, and a score. So if you don't mind sticking around for that, that is coming up next. Let's talk about the album. Alright, my friends, so again, that was the band Counterparts and their new album, A Eulogy. For those still here, we just got done jamming the entire thing. Again, as I just mentioned, this is my first time listening to Counterparts ever. I have heard of the name before, but I've just never really given them a chance. So again, that's why I love doing stuff like Patreon and YouTube. So that way I can discover new music, with you guys here. With that being said, there are definitely some pros to this album. There's definitely, I think, some cons to this album, in my personal opinion. So let's talk about the pros. We'll start there here. I would say pro number 1 is that I really like the lyrics on this album. You could definitely feel the emotion in the vocals and the lyrics on this album. I know there's like some kind of death, I believe, with Kuma. I don't know if that's the vocalist's cat that we saw in the Whisper of Your Death video. I'd assume. I could be wrong. Let me know down below. I don't want to get that wrong or be disrespectful in any way. But with the lyrics here, you can just feel the emotion of the lyrics here. Like, it's just a very intense, mental health focused album, and I think that's a really cool thing. I think it's cool when bands, take kind of what they're struggling with and give back to us, because a lot of us are struggling right now. So I think it's cool that the bands can do stuff like that. Another thing I really like about this album is that the breakdowns in this are like really fun. Like, they are super sick, they're fast, they're intense, they're nothing too crazy, but again, you don't need to break the mold of making music like this to be different, as long as it sounds good and it's fun. I think that, and it's very impactful, and for me, it was very impactful. I thought I thought these breakdowns and all the songs were just super fun and super exciting. I thought they were really cool. I also don't know if this is going to be a pro, but I'm just going to say anyway, there is a lot of the Ghost Inside vibes with this album in particular. Again, I haven't listened to Counterparts at all, but again, I love the Ghost Inside feel. It's kind of like the hardcore core, where it's like metalcore and hardcore mixed together. Like, I really like that sound. So again, I love the Ghost Inside vibes with this band, at least on this album. I thought it was super sick. And then I would say, honestly, the last pro I would give it, that the songs, even though there's a few songs on here that I would probably skip, all of them are really well put together. Like, none of them felt like they were crowbarring in parts. It didn't feel like they were trying to like take something to add this part here, this part there, to make it sound cool. Everything kind of just flowed naturally, and I thought that was really cool. So again, the songs are very well put together on this album. So again, I did enjoy this album for the most part here, but there were just a few cons that I kind of personally noticed throughout the album. I could be wrong with it here, so again, maybe it's my headphones, maybe it's just, I don't know. Just let me know. And again, I do not mind to agree, to disagree. If I'm wrong, that's completely fine. But I would say, my number one con is, I feel like the production, while it wasn't bad, everything kind of just blended together. Like, it just kind of felt like one like giant instrument. Like, the vocals didn't really get a chance to stand out sometimes. The guitar kind of blended in. Like, everything kind of just blended together. Like, I didn't feel like each instrument really got its chance to shine, if that makes sense. Where I look at someone like, Drew Folk, who does a really good job of making sure all the instruments just pop. Everyone has their moment to shine. I don't know who produced this album. Not that it was bad or anything, but I just felt like everything kind of just blended together, so it was a little hard to hear everything going on. I also felt like the singing vocals in particular were kind of pushed into the background a little bit. I kind of said that with Varials as well, where the screaming sounded completely fine. Like, the scream was in the forefront. You can understand it. It was totally fine. But when it came to like the singing choruses, I felt like they kind of pushed the singing back. Maybe they just weren't too confident in the singing, and they kind of tried to make it quiet and raise the instruments a little bit. But for me, the singing felt extremely quiet on this album, which I thought was kind of weird. And then honestly, I would say there are a few songs on this album. While I think they're all very well put together, there are a few songs that I could skip. For example, like Sworn to Silence. Nothing really interested me on that song. And also Soil 2. Now, also, I have not listened to Soil 1, so I do not know if this is like, obviously it's like a continuation. So maybe if I listen to Soil part 1 or whatever, it would change my opinion on it. But for me, Soil 2 didn't really bring much to the table. So again, there are a few songs in this album that I could probably skip and never listen to again. My top 3 songs from this album here, I would say my favorite song is number 1, Bound to the Burn. I thought that one was a good mix of, again, hardcore core, where metalcore and hardcore kind of blend together. I really like that one a lot. That one just hit for me here. I was like, this song is super sick. We were in for a good ride. It really grabbed my attention, and I really, really enjoyed that one here. I also really liked What Mirrors Might Reflect. That one, again, just another hardcore core type song. The breakdowns were cool. Everything about that one was really cool. And honestly, the last song, A Mass Grave of the Saints, I actually really enjoyed. When I first listened to it, I was like, I don't know, but I actually went back and listened to it again, and I really liked the emotion on that album. I liked the singing on it, while again, it's kind of pushed more into the background. I thought that song was a really good closer, really epic closer, really good breakdowns, and so those are my top 3 songs from this album so far. It may change on initial listens, but again, those are my top 3 songs that stuck out to me. So kind of like with a good book or a good video game or a good movie, you want to be able to draw the attention into the viewer right away. I remember, for an example, when I first started playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the first time. I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan, and I remember putting in that game for the first time. You see that giant open world, and you are immediately hooked into that world, and I sunk so many hours into that game. It just drew my attention right away. But again, that's kind of a weird example because, again, I've been a Legend of Zelda fan for a while, and I've only listened to Counterparts this one time. And I believe with music as well that if it makes a good impression, you'll want to look up more of their stuff. Did this album, have a good impression on me to go listen to some of their older stuff? I would say, yeah, I would say absolutely. If it sounds anything like this, I'll definitely check it out here. I like the album pretty okay. I don't think it's going to make my top 10 albums of the year or anything like that, but I did enjoy it. I loved the breakdowns. I really enjoyed the vocals. I really enjoyed the message in this song. It definitely is mental health focused, which again, I huge props to that here. I really liked it, man. This album was pretty cool. Again, for a guy who's heard of Counterparts but never really given them a chance, I'm glad that I did it. Again, I'm glad I do Patreon and YouTube so I can discover new music like this, because sometimes it would just be hard for me not to listen, to other bands, hard to discover other music. So in that aspect, I'm really grateful to be doing what I do. But for the most part, man, yeah, this album was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. Not my favorite thing this year, but again, I really, really liked it a lot. I'm going to give this album, Counterparts, a eulogy for those still here, a 7 out of 10. I thought it was pretty solid all the way through. Again, a few songs that I could probably skip, but for the most part, I really enjoyed this album as a new listener of Counterparts.